Hello and welcome to the Just Here in the Dark podcast with me, your host Sean. Hopefully you're having a good, scary Sunday. Let's get into our first story. On Halloween in 1955, Marilyn DeMann took her 2-year-old son, Stephen, and 7-month-old daughter, Pamela, to the supermarket in East Meadow, New York. While she went shopping, Marilyn let Stephen wait outside the store with his sister inside a carriage. 10 minutes later, Marilyn exited the store and was shocked to discover that both Stephen and the carriage were gone. Shortly thereafter, the carriage was discovered about a block and a half away. However, even though Pamela had been left behind inside the carriage, Stephen was nowhere to be found and has not been seen since. In many cases where infants are abducted, it's theorized that the perpetrator wanted a child of their own and decided to raise the missing infant under a new name. Over the years, DNA testing has been utilized in an attempt to determine if Stephen DeMann was ever given a new identity. At one point, investigators noticed that Stephen bore a resemblance to the infamous boy in the box, an unidentified child who has been found murdered inside a cardboard box in Philadelphia in 1957. However, DNA testing would eventually confirm that Stephen and the boy in the box were not the same person. In 2009, a Michigan man named John Barnes came forward believing he might be Stephen, but DNA testing also ruled this out. It's possible that an adult Stephen DeMann might be living another life somewhere under a different identity, unaware that he was once taken from his real family. However, his whereabouts continue to remain unknown. So after hearing that story, what are your thoughts? Me as a parent, I don't know if you're listening, if you're a parent or not. I don't know whoever's listening if you're a parent or not. There we go. But one of my greatest fears is to, be occupied and turn around and that at least one of my kids are missing as a father of 3. And I can only imagine the horror, the regret, the pain that mother, that family went through. Luckily, they were able to find the daughter, but the son to never be seen or heard from again is a pain that I could not imagine as a parent, as a grandparent, father. And to be this open-ended ending, you don't know. And the mind plays tricks. You come up with these scenarios that the kid might be okay, or he might be getting tormented, tortured, or he could be around the corner, or, every kid that you see, every little boy that you see at the park or amusement parks, at the movies, wherever you're looking at, like, is that him? And, like, the mind plays these horrible games, these horrible tricks. So that is torture. And for the son, Stephen, to be possibly alive today and just not know who he is. The person who abducted him had this whole scene possibly set out, that they had a backstory, they had all these things ready. And there's a possibility that he's a grandfather and just doesn't know who he actually is. He could possibly be a listener's grandfather. He could have another name, believe he comes from another area, and just not know, actually be Stephen. Unfortunately, it seems like we will never know what happened to Stephen. On to the next story. To this day, nobody knows how exactly Elisa Lam died. We know that the 21-year-old Canadian college student was last seen in the Cecil Hotel in Los Angeles on January 31st, 2013. But the infamously chilling hotel surveillance video that captured the bizarre final moments before her disappearance, let alone the other details that have emerged since, have only brought about more questions than answers. Ever since her body was discovered in the hotel's water tank on February 19th, her tragic demise has remained shrouded in mystery. Although the coroner's office ruled her death as an accidental drowning, the strange details of Lamb's case have fueled rampant speculations about what may have really happened. On January 26, 2013, Elisa Lam arrived in LA. She had just come by Amtrak train from San Diego and was headed to Santa Cruz as part of her solo trip around the West Coast. The trip was supposed to be a getaway from her studies at the University of British Columbia in Vancouver, where she is originally from. Her family had been wary of her traveling by herself, but the young student was determined to go at it alone. As a compromise, Lam made sure to check in with her parents every day of the trip to let them know that she was safe. That's why it struck her parents as unusual when they didn't hear from their daughter on January 31st, the day she was scheduled to check out of the LA hotel, the Cecil. The Lambs eventually contacted the Los Angeles Police Department. The police searched the premises of the Cecil but couldn't find her. Police soon released surveillance footage from the cameras at the Cecil Hotel on their website. This is where things took a weird turn. The hotel footage showed Elisa Lam in one of its elevators on the date of her disappearance acting rather strangely. In the pixelated footage, Lam can be seen stepping into the elevator and pushing all the floor buttons. She steps in and out of the elevator, poking her head out sideways towards the hotel's hallways in between. She peers out of the elevator another few times before stepping out of the elevator entirely. The last minutes of the video show Lam standing by the left side of the door, moving her hands in random gestures. Nobody else was captured on the video except Lam. On February 19th, 2 weeks after the video was published by the authorities, maintenance worker Santiago Lopez found Elisa Lam's body dead floating in one of the hotel's water tanks. Lopez made the discovery after responding to complaints from hotel patrons about low water pressure and a weird taste coming from the tap water. According to a statement by the chief of the Los Angeles Fire Department, the tank in which Lam's body was found had to be drained completely, then cut open from the side to remove her 5'4" frame. Nobody knows how Lam ended up in the water tank and who else might have been involved. Hotel staff told authorities that Lam was always seen by herself around the hotel premises. But at least one person did see Lam soon before her death. At a nearby shop, eerily named The Last Bookstore, owner Katie Orphan was among the last to see Elisa Lam alive. Orphan remembered the college student buying books and music for her family back in Vancouver. When the autopsy results of Lam's case came out, it only served to ignite more questions. The toxicology report confirmed that Lam had consumed a number of medical drugs, likely to be medication for her bipolar disorder. But there were no indications of alcohol or illegal substances in her body. The autopsy did not show any foul play from the evidence, but the coroner's office noted that they were unable to do a full examination because they could not examine the blood from Lam's decomposing body. And unfortunately, this is where the story pretty much ends. There's some more speculations and theories, but there's no concrete evidence saying why she was in the tank, how she got in the tank, and if anyone else was involved. All right. So, man, these stories like this are so hard to really have, are really hard for me to have a opinion on that I can stand on, because I don't know. I try to think of something that would be practical, like medical reasons, or maybe they were being chased, or, something like that. They were under distress. But I mean, who knows? Who knows? Like, the video footage only captured her alone, and she was acting strange and peculiar. I had seen the video a while ago. I'm not watching it now. For somebody who's reading and doing these stories, I am not looking at some of these horrific crime scenes and haunting videos. I am good. I'll read the stories and then push it to the back of my brain. But why? And it's like, That's scary, because if she was acting normal, and pretty much this seems like it could happen to anyone. Maybe it was the medication. Maybe there's no explanation. But for her to be okay and fine and acting normal, and then this one day, this one event, and super strange. I've heard another story. Actually, I think I've heard two other stories where a person was traveling, they were fine, in contact with their loved ones, and then out of nowhere, they were acting rather strange, and then next, either they were never seen again or they were found deceased. And that is frightening and baffling. On to our next story. The Alaska Triangle, as defined by legendsofamerica.com, the Alaska Triangle, sometimes called Alaska's Bermuda Triangle, is a place in which the untouched wilderness of the frontier state where mystery lingers and people go missing at a very high rate. There are certain areas of this planet that seem to be magnets for missing people and mysterious disappearances. For whatever reasons, people come to such places and simply vanish, never to return. Many know of the more famous of these places, such as the Bermuda Triangle, but there are more such mysterious zones to be found around the world. Perhaps one of the more little known of these regions that are seemingly hungry for more souls is a vast expanse of wilderness in the northernmost U.S. state of Alaska, a cold, barren place that has a habit of holding on to people and refusing to let go. Alaska's Bermuda Triangle is said to encompass a large, sprawling section of the state. Within this zone are vast areas of largely unexplored wilderness, including sprawling forests, craggy mountain peaks, and desolate barren tundra. The region sports an unusually high number of people, both tourists and locals, who go missing every year without a trace, as if they vanish off the face of the earth. And additionally, many planes have also disappeared or inexplicably crashed here. It is said that since 1988, a staggering 16,000 people have vanished in the so-called Alaska Triangle, to never be heard from again. One of the most high-profile mysterious disappearances within the Alaska Triangle occurred in October 1972, when an airplane carrying none other than two prominent politicians, House Majority Leader Hale Boggs and Representative Nick Begich, along with an aide, Russell Brown, and their Bush pilot, Don Johns, mysteriously vanished in the region while on their way from Anchorage to Juneau aboard the Cessna 310 aircraft. The disappearance of such prestigious public figures sparked an intense search that lasted for 39 days and involved over 400 aircraft, including an advanced Air Force SR-71 and dozens of boats, including 12 from the Coast Guard's, yet no evidence of what happened to the three men or the plane was ever found, and the men were declared dead. The disappearance actually sparked some conspiracy theories at the time, with some people claiming that the crash had been orchestrated or at least was covered up by the head of the FBI at the time, J. Edgar Hoover, in response to intense power struggles he had with Boggs. To this day, no trace of the men or the plane, not so much as a bolt or scrap of metal, has ever been found. The area has long been associated with evil spirits in the lore of the native people of the region, with one notorious entity being a shape-shifting demon that is said to look like a cross between man and otter, and is said to lure hapless people to their doom, in particular those who are lost. It is likely we will never come to a complete understanding of the mystery here, and that the only people who will know for sure are the ones who never came back to tell the tale. Alright, so after hearing that story, I actually want to go to Alaska. With that being said, I am not one of those extreme adventurers or explorers. I really don't. I just enjoy being outside and experiencing different cultures and different environments and stuff like that. So I will definitely not be in search of this place that has